YouTube channel. If this is your first time, welcome back. If this is not your first time, my name is Oyinda and I like to read a lot, and so this channel is me basically chronicling all my reads and hopefully recommending some to you, and yeah, just discussing and talking about everything I like to read. So I will be talking about all the books I read in October. I know this is going up like really late, but school has been a lot. And so far, so I think at the beginning I'm going to be comparing how much I set out to read and how much I actually read. So I set out to read 13 books and I read 10, which I think is quite all right. I don't know who keeps giving me this, this delusion. It's making me think that I can read so many more books than I can. And I didn't learn my lesson. You see in my November TBR, I plan to read 14, even though this is like my busiest month yet. But I don't know, again, aim high and you see where you fall. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about all the books I read. And so the first one I read is House of Hollow. This is by Crystal Sutherland, and so we follow these three sisters, and basically for 1 month when they were younger they disappeared. Nobody knew what happened to them, and then they just reappeared 1 month later, and then we're now in the future, and then their elder sister has gone missing, and so they basically have to like figure out what happened. And it seems that her disappearance now in the present has something to do with their disappearance in the past. I really liked this book quite a bit. I really liked the writing. I liked because the elder sister is this very enigmatic, this very mysterious figure. I really like stories where we like pull back and we see what lies underneath, and we see that what lies underneath may not be so pleasant. I liked the description. It was very much contrasting like beauty with horror like elements, or the fact that like beauty can be terrible and can be like creepy. Like in contrast, the writing was very obviously had a lot of metaphors, so you would contrast like beauty with like rot and decay, and it was just like very kind of like nature horror is what I would call it. So if you like something like that, I think, yeah. And this idea that beauty could be dangerous, it's spooky but it's not really scary. So oh yeah, I read it for like because I wanted to make some spooky recommendations for people who don't want to be really scared. You could check that out if you still want. But yeah, and there's a twist here that I began to suspect, but it's quite dark. So yeah, but at the heart of it is the relationship between the three sisters, of course, and the very intense just complexities of sisterhood. Yeah, that is it. So if this sounds interesting to you at all, then I think you might enjoy it and definitely pick it up. Yeah, then the next book I read is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. So this is basically like a loose retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but like make it spooky. This was also another one that I read for my spooky UX. This was very, very atmospheric. It was very descriptive because this takes place in near the sea, and it was just I felt very much transported there. So we're following this family again, 12 sisters, and so the first 4 sisters have died all in mysterious ways, and then we're following this one sister. What's her name? I don't remember. But we're following this one sister who believes that the death of the later sister was a murder and not necessarily an accident, and so we're just following her. It just really felt like I was in an old manor by the sea. And there's danger everywhere. Yeah, and I really liked how we followed this one sister, and I liked how we kind of see her not like descent into madness, but when she really begins to like doubt herself and begin to like really question what was going on. I thought that was really done well, to the point where I was just like, what's happening? Is this real or is this not? So yeah, although I will say when we find out what really happened, it was something I guessed on pretty early, but I thought that this was maybe a bit too obvious, so she wouldn't go that way, but then it did go that way. That's not necessary. I don't know. Yeah, it's something I would give it like maybe a 7 out of 10. And it's also something that happened with the romance that I did not like, and it's also something in another book of hers that I read that I didn't like it. It kind of made me feel icky. But yeah, exactly, because the reveal at the end kind of made me feel a bit underwhelmed. Yeah, but it was it was twisty. I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I think if you like want something very atmospheric, if you want to feel really transported, I think you should give this a shot. Yes. Then the next book I read is Noor by Nnedi Okorafor. So this is something I've wanted to read for, well, not for quite a while. Yes. So this is under a genre called Afrofuturism. Yes. So I've never read from that genre before. I guess it's a sub-genre of science fiction. So we see like science and like science fiction in Africa basically, but like with more like futuristic technology basically, and we see that in Africa. So yeah, so we follow this Noor. In Noor, we're following the story of this girl who's she calls herself AO, like artificial organism. So I wouldn't call her a cyborg, but she's an enhanced human. She's been enhanced with like tech, like a cyborg sort of. And then an incident happens, and then she becomes wanted, and then she has to like go into the desert, and then she's strikes up a quote unquote friendship with someone, and then they're both like running away because they both have things that they're running away from, and they run across the desert and try to find a safe place. Yeah, I wasn't it definitely went some places I wasn't expecting. It's quite short as well, so I think give it a shot if you're trying to get into sci-fi Afrofuturism. It was something, yeah, reading about like places that I know. Sorry, I don't know why I was taking me so long, but reading about places I know like Lagos and Nigeria, which is where I lived, was certainly on Abuja and all these places that I'm very, very much aware of. It was an experience for sure. I really liked how this book critiqued, sorry, I said to read my notes, but I liked how it critiqued like capitalism and like big corporations taking over. I liked the main character's sense of self because in which honestly makes sense. So I would imagine in like Lagos or Nigeria, people would not be very very receptive towards somebody being like not genetically but like technologically altered, like a cyborg. And so to be honest, that part of the novel made sense, but I liked how she did not let that deter her. She had a very strong sense of self. And also there was like a short story here about within the novel about some big tech being found in Africa, and I don't know, it just brought tears to my eyes. Like I was like, oh, this is such a somewhat like hopeful, view of Africa and just as a whole, and that was like really touching. It brought tears to my eyes. And yeah, it really focused on like corporations and how far corporations will go to make money, and how they might push certain things under the rug, and just the ways they can pit people against each other just to make money, just like the length that corporations will go. So it's really like a critique of like the greediness of corporations and things like that. Yeah, so that is Noor by Nnedi Okorafor. I think it's like I'm not an expert, but not an expert by any means, but I think it's also a good place to start. I definitely look forward to reading more of her work because this was very interesting. Then the next book I read is The Library at Mount Char. This was also for my Spooky Rex video. This was a weird book, but in a good way. This might be my favorite weird book that I've ever read. So it followed these 12, they're not siblings by blood, but they were raised together in this library, and something happens and they are barred entry into this library, and their guardian, who is, they call him father, but he's not their biological father. It's from the novel you kind of get that he might be God, the god of this universe, and they basically are trying to figure out what happened to their father, why can't they go back to the library, and we just go. I don't want to say much more because I don't want to spoil it, but it's definitely like horror, fantasy with horror elements. And some of the things that happen in this book are quite like gruesome and quite dark, so maybe check your trigger warnings if that's something that, yes. But I think what really made this book work for me is I really enjoyed the characters. I feel that their motivations are very clear, and we understood why they did what they did. And so even though the book is quite weird and so she's like, what is going on here? But knowing their motivations, like the main point of view, that were knowing their motivations and understanding them made it easier for me to root for them and follow them. And all I'll say about this book is I support women's rights and women's wrongs, especially women's wrongs. And I think it really touched on how surviving a traumatic experience can definitely change someone. Yeah. And it just like how it can dehumanize a person going through such a traumatic experience. So yeah, the library at Matcha. I will say this: there's a twist at the end, and I don't know how I feel to this day. I still don't know how I feel about it. I don't because it kind of implies that the all that happened in this book needed to happen, or that it was necessary, and I'm just I don't know how I feel about it. But definitely check your trigger warnings. But I said, yeah, if you're looking for something, maybe if you've read a lot of, like, for example, like really classic fantasy and you want something unique, this is definitely unique and this is definitely weird, but in a good way. So I would recommend. Then the next book I read is Small Favours by Erin A. Craig, also the same author as The House of Salt and Stories, and I like this one significantly more. I'll give it like if I gave maybe six or seven, I'll give it like an 8 or a 9. I really enjoyed this one. So we're following this young woman in this small town that's very much isolated and separated. It's called Amity Falls. It's separated, and then strange things begin to happen, and you see like mutated animals. It's very creepy, and we're just following her trying to figure out what is happening. And then we also see, you know, like small town issues, everybody knowing each other, people like beginning to turn on one another, and it's just very twisty. I think why I preferred this, I'm not sure, but I think because we had less characters in this, so we could really focus more on, like, I feel I could really get a sense of who the characters were better than, especially the side characters, better than in House of Salt and Stories, because they're like 12 sisters, so there are a lot of them. But with this one, I think because we had a smaller cast, I don't know, I think that helped me like feel more attached to the characters. Yes. I liked the dynamic between our main character and her siblings. This book also gave me one of my most hated characters, her brother. I wanted to kill him. I couldn't wait. I was just like, please tell me he's going to die. I was so upset. Reading about him was just like deeply frustrating. So I felt a lot when I was reading this book. I liked her. Okay, Ellery is our main character. I forgot her name. And I like seeing her struggle with her identity and her place in the world and try to figure out where she fits in. However, there was also something that happened with the love interest again. I'm just like, I think this is, I don't know, maybe this is a pattern. I want to read House of Roots and Ruin. It didn't bother me as much here, but still. Also, the ending, I don't mind it, but I can see how somebody else might not like it. But I do think that this is, for me, I prefer it much more to House of Salt and Sorrows. Yeah, and I just really like the small town feel. People turning on one another, people knowing each other's gossip. Maybe that's why it was a bit more messy. Maybe that's why I liked it. But yeah, Small Favours by Erin A. Craig. I also read that for my Spooky Rex. And yeah, I think you should check it out. Then, next book I read is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I think this is her adult debut, because I know she wrote another one, The Gilded Wolves. I actually want to read that. She has a couple of books out, but this was her adult debut. This is filled with very lush, beautiful writing, but it could be it could be too much for some people. I can definitely see that, because I know this has like quite a lot of mixed reviews. I liked it, but the writing may not be for everyone. There were even like a couple of sentences I highlighted. I don't know if I'll be able to find them now, where sometimes it was like, this is a bit much. I think something about how the flowers were sad about the rain or something like that, and I was just like, let me see if I can find it. Can I? No, I should have checked for it before. Anyway, so yeah, while all in all I really enjoyed the writing, it might not be for everyone. So what is this about? We're following we have like present day and past timelines, And so in the first one, we're following the bridegroom. And so he's married to this very enigmatic, this very mysterious woman, this mysterious heiress. And they get married, but she asks him to never inquire about her past. And then in the past, we're following a friend of the heiress. And we're following that relationship. That's not a spoiler, no. Anyway, so I really liked the writing. I liked when we followed the friendship. I think the horror for me in this book was watching the heiress and her friend. Their relationship is very, very toxic and very codependent. And just like, some things I really was like, I don't want to see this, I don't want to see this. I also did like the bridegroom's timeline as well. I think some people didn't like it, but I did. And and I just liked how, I wanted to say something about the bridegroom's timeline, but that would be a spoiler. So no, I liked us how we peeled back who Indigo was, and because she's this like very mysterious lady. And even in the marriage, because we see that they're not very honest with each other. Like they kind of play games with each other and they're not like really honest. And we see how a relationship that's built on kind of like secrets and lies may not necessarily work out. Yeah, and I think this also, okay, I can say what I want to say about the bridegroom. In his storyline, we see something at the end. I mean, this is what I got from it, where we see how people can use stories to, you know, cope with trauma. I think that would make more sense if you do end up reading this. Yeah, because having secrets, you know, in a marriage can lead to like issues. And that seems like pretty obvious, but I don't know, I like the way it was dissected here. I really like how what this book had to say on marriage and things like that. Like there's this one where this quote, I'm not saying it perfectly, but how knowing someone can make the world feel like a bigger place. And I just think that was very romantic. So yeah, Last Tale of Fire Bride. Maybe like read a sample somewhere, or maybe if you've read Rashadi Chokshi's work already, and I think her prose is like that. So if you like that, or you generally like pretty, I think give this a chance. I also want to just flex a little bit that there was a plot twist here, and I guessed it, and I was so proud of myself on this. So I was like, I'm so smart. Anyway, moving on. So then the next book I read is Flamefall. So this is the sequel to Fireborn in the Aurelian cycle. This is a young adult trilogy, fantasy trilogy, and we have dragons. And so in this world, we're following post-revolution, and we're following these two main characters, Annie and Lee. Annie who comes from, that's not his program, from this lowborn, from servants, like lowborn serfs. They're regarded as less than nothing. And Lee, who came from the family that was overthrown. And so we follow them now that they're in dragon riding school, because the system was changed so that anyone could become a dragon rider, whereas in the previous regime it was only those who were dragon born. That's basically the elite. The dragon, there was a whole separate class of people. Anyway, so yeah, this did not suffer from middle book syndrome at all. I preferred it more. And something that this book does that shocked me is because when I first started, we see the introduction of a new point of view, and I was just like, can you take me back to Annie and Lee, please? Why is he here? And then within a couple of chapters, I was already in love with the new POV. I liked how we see what's happening with the, okay, this is the blurb, so this is fine. But basically what challenges the status quo is when we find out that some people from Lee's family have survived, and so they want to challenge and bring back the old regime. And so I like seeing how the old regime was off this island, and we see how they are running things on their side. I just really liked how this book really explored, like, you know, how power can corrupt, the like importance of free speech, how like something can start off good but then go off rails if you're not very careful to keep yourself on track. It's very easy to lose sight of what you started, and to lose sight of what made you start, and just like completely go off rails. I shouldn't have doubted and also there's a particular relationship here that is explored, especially with the new POV that is added, and it was just like the nuances that she, I don't know, I don't want to spoil, I cannot spoil it. I wish I could talk about this in like spoilers, but the way she really broke down that relationship. I just liked how that was explored, that relationship in particular. So yeah, this is not some of our middle books. I think I read this in 2 sittings. I'm obsessed. The lore is expanding, the world is expanding. It was just chef's kiss. The ending, I think I can't read it this year because I have exams. I'm so upset. But yeah, I have no doubt that she will end this trilogy with a bang. So yes, please, if you like dragons, please read Firebird. It is so good. It's so underrated. It's amazing. It's chef's kiss. It's everything you could want. Angst, yearning, complex politics. I don't know. Please read Firebird. Please read Firebird. Sorry, Firebird, Flamefall. Read all of it. Thank you. Then the next book I read is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing. This is by Hank Green. Yes, I have the physical copy with me here. I don't know if you know Hank Green, John Green of YouTube fame. So yes, the main character in this book is very flawed, and she's like, I liked her, but I think people who don't like unlikable characters might not do well with this one. She's deeply unlikable. She's like a disaster girl, and she makes very selfish decisions, and we just follow her. So the story is told was an absolutely remarkable thing about. So we're following this main character, April May, and then she discovers this random statue, and then she decides to film it with her friend, and they just post it, and they think nothing of it, but then it goes viral online because these statues have appeared everywhere else, and she basically becomes like a spokesperson, an international spokesperson for these these random statues. And it seems like this, this might be first contact. She might have had first contact with aliens. And yeah, I think this book really had a lot to say of like fame and how fame changes you. And just let me check my notes. Yeah, and she makes a lot of mistakes due to her reaction with fame, what people can do for attention, and just how even like how important like your words are, especially if you're in a position of influence, how people can easily be swayed by the words, and how choosing your words are very important. And we will see her like becoming a brand, and just how that can also be very dehumanizing. So yeah, I did like April May, even with her, like she makes so many decisions where you're just like, oh girl, what are you doing? What are you doing? Please, can you not? So if you do not like an unlikable character, I would maybe recommend staying from this one. But I think what I would say for her is, so the way this story is told is April May is telling us her story now from the future. So she's telling us the events that passed. And so I think at least while she's telling her story, she's like, yeah, I shouldn't have done this. This was very selfish. I didn't know this at the time. So maybe that helps me root for her more. Whether I feel if I had read this in first person as this was like it was currently happening, maybe. So I still think give it a chance. But yeah, and just like seeing how she changed and how fame became all consuming from her. Yeah, and just like how words can be used to incite fear and manipulate people. So yeah, that's an absolutely remarkable thing by Hank Green. Also, I think if you are new to sci-fi or you want to try out sci-fi, I think that this would be a good option. The next book I want to talk about is Slewfoot by Brom. I read this in one sitting. I don't think I've ever gotten so attached to a character that quickly. From the first page, from the first chapter, I was already upset about what was happening with her, and I was like, oh, I was so frustrated and so deeply emotional. So we're following Abitha, who has just recently been widowed. She's basically the pariah of this very Puritan community, like New England settlement, and she forms a relationship with a creature in the woods. And yeah, we just follow her and we see how that relationship might have consequences on the settlement where she lives. This is like the embodiment of female rage, and we just see her like descend. I would say descend into madness, but definitely descend into darkness, and yeah, just like along for the ride. And we just see her snap finally and just lose it all and just like revenge her, get her revenge. And I'm just like, yes, go for it. Yeah, it was Also very atmospheric as well. I really felt like I was in the woods, and also seeing her relationship with the creature. Also, we even had find the creature like trying to come to terms with what it is and what might have happened to it. It was, yeah, that's all I have to say about it really. If you're looking for, if you like witchy books, and yeah, that's it. If you like witchy books, if you like feminine rage, if you like people seeing women snap and just go berserk and destroy everything, I think you like this one. Then, is this the last book I read? I want to believe so. Have I missed out anything? Sorry, I just want to check my notes quickly. Yeah, so the last book I read is Jade War. 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. So this is the sequel to Jade City. In Jade City, we have these. So there's this resource called Jade, obviously, and with Jade, it gives people like heightened abilities. They can run faster. They are, stronger, etc. We're following this family. So in Jade can only be found in Kekon, and so we're following these two rival clans, kind of like mafia, yakuza type thing. And so we're following these two clans who are in charge of Jade. Okay, another thing is in this world, only green bones. So green bones are the only people who can use Jade. So we're following these two clans, and so in the first book, basically we see the clan, because the two clans are at peace temporarily, and then we kind of see some events change, and then the clan breaks out into war, and then we're just following the two clans, and then obviously the clans are very enmeshed in the government in every area, from finance to the actual government to every area. So it's very much involved, and so we see the two clans come to a head, and it's just, and also obviously we're following one particular clan, so there's also like very much family drama as well. And I did like Jade City, but I love Jade War. In Jade City, for example, there's this one character, I really did not like him because he was a thug. But in Jade War, even though in Jade War he actually does worse stuff, he does some very like morally abhorrent things. I'm just like, I can't believe he did that. And yet I still find myself, I'm a Hilo stan now. I really liked how the world opened up. I like seeing how, because Jade is like the most precious resource in this world, and so we see how these clans have an effect on like the worldwide space. So the world definitely opens up. We get to see life in other countries as well. We get to see how Kekonese immigrants live as well. I thought that was a very interesting thing. I like seeing how the characters changed and grew. All the characters that I liked them all right in Jade City, but I feel for me here, I really came to love them. I just liked, again, there was more scheming, more, not exactly fighting, and more like backstabbing and maneuvering. It was great. I was obsessed. Finally caused me a lot of emotional distress when I was reading this book. I was deeply stressed. I don't think this also suffered from middle book syndrome. I think this was better for me. This was a step up. Not like Jade City wasn't good. Jade City was great, but for me it was just like, this is where this book is what makes me think that this might be one of my favorite books my favorite series of all time, depending on how Jade Legacy is, which is, I'm now kind of scared of reading Jade Legacy, to be honest, because I feel like she's going to break my heart, because some of the events in this book I was like deeply stressed. And I think Hilo is such a frustrating character, because also as I said, the characters change and grow a lot, and we also see them come into roles that they were not necessarily expected to be in, and so I really liked that. And like with Hilo, for example, he comes into a role where everybody tells him he's bad at it and he's not any good and he shouldn't, and then we see how he deals with that, but then he also shines in his own way. I don't know, I love this so much. I loved every character. Of course, she's also going to kill some people. I'm just like, ugh. And there's like towards the end something that happens, and I was so deeply afraid of how Hilo would react. And it's just like she really gives you truly morally great characters, which makes sense because this is basically like a mafia story, but with like a light sprinkling of magic. But yes, I think it's very like well thought out, like how, if Jade existed, like how it would affect every area of life. I think that was really well done. And yeah, even the decisions that the characters make, it just makes sense. Like they grow and change, but they never not stay true to who they are. Which is all of this to say is that I really, really, really like Jade War. Yes, like 5 stars, like five, just 10 out of 10. This and Flamefall. While I liked all the books, but those two, like, how can the sequels be even better? Like, they were so good. Please read this series, I'm begging you. Anyway, so yes, we've come to the end of all the books that I read. I hope you maybe pick one from here. I hope you try them. I hope you like them. Please let me know if you do. Just comment, leave a comment if you do read it. If you've read them, you know, I want somebody to gush about it, please do. Like, I'm always looking for someone to talk about these books with. And yeah, I hope you have a great reading week ahead. Okay, bye.